Hello, everyone. It's Larissa Peich again, coming at you from Agriculture in the Classroom, Manitoba. Welcome back to Follow the Farmers. Teachers and students, let's share where we're all joining from. Please take a moment to put the name of your school and what area of Manitoba you are streaming in from today. I'm sure everyone would love to hear. This is our second offering of year 3 for the Follow the Farmers program. We kicked things off with Follow the Turkey Farmer, and today we are going to be learning about soybeans. We know that it can be hard at times to coordinate field trips, but we also know that it's so important for students to know where their food comes from and who grows it. So we are bringing you behind the barn doors today onto Manitoba Farms to meet the Manitoba farmers who grow our food. Thank you, Henervic Farm Services, for partnering with us in creating these farm tour videos. And thank you to Manitoba Pulse and soybean growers and Henervic Farms for partnering with us on this soybean offering. Again, we are streaming on both our Agriculture in the Classroom Manitoba YouTube and Facebook channels. Teachers, be sure to join via your account if you have one. That will give you access to put your questions in the live feed throughout the event. Students, while you're watching this farm tour video, I want you to think about all the questions that you can throw Lyle's way. No question is a silly question. We want to hear them all from you, and we want you to learn a lot about soybeans today. So be sure to be thinking about those while you watch the farm tour video. We are going to have our question and answer period after the farm tour. And students, keep them coming. Get your teachers to put those questions into the feed. Now I'd like to introduce you to our farmer today. Lyle Peters and his wife Carly are owners of Henervic Farms, a pig and grain farm located about 30 minutes southeast of Winnipeg, so not far from us in the city here. Lyle and Carly farm with Lyle's dad and uncles, as well as 3 cousins. So it's a big family operation. They are passionate about farming and are excited to have you see a glimpse of their farm and what it takes to grow healthy soybeans for us all to eat. So let's bring in Lyle. Hey, Lyle.
Hi, everybody.
How are you?
Very well. How are you today?
We're doing great. I'm speaking on behalf of everyone that's joining. So where are you joining us from today, Lyle? It looks like you're in an office building there.
Yeah, this is our farm office, which is located in Randolph, Manitoba.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. It's a nice sunny day outside, a little cold, but spring's around the corner, right?
Yeah, very nice day.
All right, teachers and students, like I said, feel free to add any questions into the comment section while we play this farm tour video. Let's go learn about soybeans on Henervic Farms. Here we go.
Hi everyone, my name is Lyle Peters from Henervic Farms. My grandpa started this farm about 75 years ago when he came here from Russia. And then my dad and his 3 brothers took over, and now me and my 3 cousins are working on this farm. We farm a whole bunch of crops. We farm corn and soybeans and wheat and barley and canola, and we also have pigs to make a very nice, large, diverse family farm. On our farm, we like to rotate crops. Cereal plants like corn and legumes like soybeans have very different nutrient needs and also have very different insects that like to try to hurt them. So we like to rotate those crops on our farms so that we can keep our plants healthy. To prep the field for the soybeans, we will use a disc the fall before to put last year's crop back into the dirt and make a nice black seed bed for the soybeans. When we're choosing the seed that we want to grow, we look for a couple of traits. The first trait is genetics. They make certain plants that grow really tall and give us really good yield. Another trait is maturity. Certain soybeans take certain amounts of heat and time to make seed. Another trait is protection. The seeds we're seeding have a red coating on them. That red coating is providing some protection to the plant. First of all, it gives it energy so that it will have a better germination and have a better start to come out of the ground really quickly. Second of all, it has some protection against insects and bugs that want to eat it while it's either in the ground or just when it's poking out of the ground. And third, it has some protection against some of the bad bacteria that are in the dirt that want to make the plant sick. The color on the seed helps us find it when we're seeding to make sure the seeder is set correctly so that every plant has the best chance to germinate and grow into be a big, healthy plant. We use the roller after seeding to press down all the rocks and sticks, because when we combine, we have to combine right on the ground to make sure that we get all of these pods in the combine. When the plant is really small, about this tall, we'll spray it for weeds so that there are no weeds and it has a nice seed bed for growing. These soybeans were planted at the end of May, so they are about 7 weeks old right now. They're sort of to my waist. They usually don't get much taller than that. As you can see, the flowers on a soybean are very small. They don't rely on insects like bees to pollinate. These flowers will self-pollinate to make pods that hold the actual soybean seed that we crush for oil. Soybeans need lots of heat and lots of water to give us lots of seeds. So a warm, wet summer is really good for soybeans. From here, they'll spend all of their energy making more pods with more seeds. The soybean is a very climate-friendly crop. Soybeans are a unique plant because they actually produce their own nitrogen into these nodules. Nitrogen is the main nutrient that all plants need to grow. Soybeans produce a bacteria into these nodules that helps to pull the nitrogen from the air into the soil. This process is called nitrogen fixation. During the nitrogen fixation process, the soybean plant will take what it needs, but it will leave behind some nitrogen in the dirt for next year's crop. Soybeans and bacteria are definitely BFFs. We don't have to worry about soybeans needing nitrogen like some of our other crops. We try to protect our crop from insects that like to eat the leaves, like whatever bug did this, but we don't want to harm the good bugs that help the plants grow big and strong. We hire an agronomist who's a professional at checking the crops to help us with everything from seed selection to crop protection products to harvest management to timing of when to do all of these things for us to get as many seeds as we can. We can see this plant is starting to create pods. Right now, these seeds are very small, but at harvest time, they will grow up to be nice and big. These soybeans will turn completely brown and become all dried out, and the seeds will become very hard. We need the soybean seed to be completely dry for us to combine so that it will pop very easily out of the shell and we can store properly in the bin. The combine comes through the field to combine the soybeans, and the soybeans end up in this hopper. We then come with our grain cart and drive beside the combine so that we can put the seeds into the grain cart without stopping the combine. As farmers, we're looking for a high yield. Yield is the amount of seeds that a plant will give us or amount of seeds we'll get on the whole field. We talk about yield usually in bushels, and a bushel is about the number of seeds that'll fit in a laundry basket. When the grain cart is full, we'll take it to where the semis are and fill the semis so that we can take the grain back to our yard where we will fill a grain bin. If the grain is dry, it can stay there stored for a long time till we sell them. While they're in the bin, we have a fan that keeps the temperature regulated so that we can keep them stored for a very long time. No part of the plant on a soybean really gets wasted. When we harvest the seeds, the actual plant gets worked back into the soil to give nutrients to next year's crop. After harvest, we take our seeds to either the local elevator or directly to the crushing plant. After the oil is crushed out of the soybean seed, we are left with meal. The oil gets processed and it's also used in things like salad dressing, mayonnaise, and margarine, and goes to grocery stores for us to buy. It's also used to make biodiesel, which we use in vehicles, and products like candles, crayons, and lip balm. The meal is very high in protein and gets fed to animals across Manitoba. Those animals take that protein to convert it into food products. I hope you learned a lot about soybeans today and how we want to grow healthy food for everyone to eat, and how we're worried about the plants and the soil being sustainable for future generations. Thank you for joining us on our farm.
Oh, Lyle, all those green trees and fields. Hopefully summer comes soon.
Yeah, anytime. We're ready.
So are you already kind of prepping for the next year, Lyle? Like you're kind of buying seed and looking into all those things for the next season to come?
Yes, the seed is already bought, and we are working on making sure the equipment's ready to go. We're not quite ready, but there's still a bit of snow on the ground. We have a little bit of time. We want to make sure we're completely ready when it becomes nice and springtime outside.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for bringing us to your farm, Lyle. It was brought back memories of being out there with you last year. It was
great. It was beautiful days.
It was. So we are going to start the Q&A part of the event now, students. We had a couple of questions come in before our event today, so we're going to start off with those. So I'm going to get the team to bring up the first one. So this one's coming from Nick. He's a grade 4 student, and he is wondering, why are soybean pods furry? And can you eat the pods?
So the soybean pods are furry so that insects don't like to land on them. It's sort of a protection thing for the soybean plant, and that's why they're furry. They actually feel a little bit funny in your hand, especially when they're green. And then, can you eat the pods? Yes, you can eat the pods. You see them sometimes if you order edamame at a restaurant, but they aren't very tasty. They're not as tasty as pea pods, so yeah, I probably wouldn't choose to eat them.
Thanks, Lyle. I enjoy edamame myself with the tossed in salt, and the seeds kind of just pop right into your mouth. They're really tasty. Good question, Nick. All right, let's bring in question number 2 here. So this is from Noah. He's a homeschool student. He's wondering, do you like eating soybeans, Lyle?
We do eat some soybeans in our house. Yes, we will put them in soup when they're boiled and get soft. We'll also use them in salads. And then those are sort of the 2 main times that we'll use them. But yes, we eat them in our house.
Okay, awesome. I really like them in salads too. My kids actually love them too. They love the ones with the salt on them.
Yeah.
You can kind of suck the seeds out. Good questions, kids. All right, so we're going to dive into the live feed now. And our team on the back end is going to be bringing in some questions. Okay, hi, Cheryl. This is from Cheryl McQueen's class. And they are wondering, room 1 is wondering, how many soybeans the farm produces each year?
Well, I might need a calculator for this one. Last year we had, I actually have a calculator here that works out good.
Let's do it. Have a little math lesson.
We had 52,000 bushels of soybeans. Wow. And there are approximately 160,000 seeds in every bushel. So that gets us, if I get the zeros right here, to around 8.3 billion soybeans.
That's crazy.
Is that the right number of zeros? 3. Yeah, 8.3 billion.
Wow, crazy. And Lyle, have you sold off all of that crop already, or is there still some stored in your bins? Or
this year we have them all sold. Not every year do we have them all sold by now, but the pricing was very good before Christmas, so we sold them all then, and now the price is actually less. So this time we made good decisions and sold them earlier when they were worth more money.
That's great. Great question, Miss McQueen's class. Thank you. We have another one here from Juliana. She's a grade 3 student, and she's wondering how many beans you get in one field.
So that's a similar question. We would say a normal field is about 160 acres. So we would get 6,400 bushels about of soybeans. And then if I got times that by that, you would get approximately, on that size of field, again, if I get the zeros right, would be approximately 1 billion on sort of a regular sized field.
Wow. And when you plant your soybeans, Lyle, I know you rotate your crops.
Yes.
But how many, would you say soybeans is your largest crop out of all the ones that you grow, or does it vary year to year?
No, it wouldn't be our biggest one. On our farm, it's almost exactly a quarter of the crops are wheat, a quarter of the land is canola, a quarter of the land is corn, and a quarter of the land is soybeans. Okay. So it's very close to sort of 25% of our farm. And we try to only get the soybeans and all those crops on a field once every 4th year.
Okay. Awesome. Good question, Juliana. Okay, we're going to keep going here, Lyle. So this is from Carissa Kirkup's class, and this is from a grade 6 student from St. Augustine School. And they're wondering we have a few questions here. Let's start with, what is a bushel?
Yeah, a bushel is about a laundry basket full, or like a Rubbermaid that we would store things in our basement. That's about a bushel. A bushel weighs 60 pounds. So it's 60 pounds worth of soybeans. Yes. Our
And when you sell your soybeans,
yes,
do you sell them by the bushel? That's how you calculate the price?
well, Canada's a bit crazy actually, because we get paid in tons, so we get paid by weight.
Okay.
And bushel, I'm going to try to explain this properly, but a bushel is a measure of volume.
Yep.
And we get paid by weight. So I say 60 pounds, but it wouldn't have to be 60 pounds. A bushel is if you read older books, there would have been a thing called a bushel basket.
Okay.
And so if that bushel basket was full, that was 1 bushel. And they used to pay by the bushel basket, but now we pay by the weight. Gotcha. So it's a bit confusing. But then when we talk about the price, we actually talk about price per bushel. So
keeps you on your toes.
Yes. And that's because lots of that is because in the United States, they still get paid by the bushel, not by the weight.
Gotcha.
And so we talk that way because lots of the pricing comes out of some of those models in the United States.
Okay, gotcha. Well, while we're on this topic, what's the average price that you sold a bushel of soybeans for last season?
Last year, when we were combining, they were worth about $17 a bushel.
Okay.
And right now, today, if we were trying to sell them, they'd be worth about $13.25.
Okay, so quite a bit less.
So the price has dropped quite a bit since, let's say, October.
Gotcha. Okay, last question from Chrissa. She was wondering, their class was wondering, are they good for protein, soybeans?
Oh, sorry. Yes, the soybeans are a very good protein source. They're a great source of protein for humans, along with lots of the other legumes, the lentils, the chickpeas, the soybeans. All of those things are really good for people as a protein or as an alternative meat source for protein as well.
Yep.
And the soybeans, after they take the oil out of them, they are left with a meal. So looks like a yellow powder.
Yep.
And that gets brought back to the feed mills and then fed back to our pigs, like on our farm, our pigs, but across Manitoba, all of the livestock. And yes, it's a very good protein source for these animals too, so that they can grow big and strong and make healthy meat for us to eat as well.
Amazing. Thanks, Lyle. Good questions, everyone. Okay, let's move on here. Ashley Brown. Hi, Quinn. This is my daughter's class. And hi, Callie. So they are wondering, how long does it take for a soybean to grow?
So there are many different types of soybeans. In Manitoba, soybeans are usually planted around May long weekend, or maybe between May long weekend and the end of May. And they're usually ready to combine about the middle of September to the end of September. So that goes, middle of June, July, August, September. So sort of 4 months to grow.
Okay.
But if you go further south in the Midwest of the United States, or in Brazil and Argentina and Chile in South America, where they grow lots and lots and lots of soybeans, their soybeans actually take longer to grow because they are bigger plants. Okay. And they actually get more soybeans because they grow taller and bigger and take longer.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
In Manitoba, we grow the crops to be about this long because if it freezes at the end of September, October, then the plant dies and we might not be able to combine it, or it might not be good quality. Yeah. So we have to use a shorter season plant to make sure that it doesn't die before it starts to freeze. By Thanksgiving, often it's freezing quite a bit. Yeah. Or it's sometimes pretty cold overnight. So we have to be careful that the plant isn't still trying to grow then.
Okay, that makes sense. Good question, Callie. All right, so this is from Bradnon. He's a grade 3 student, and he is wondering, are there different types of soybeans?
Yes, there are two very different types of soybeans. The first one would be the kind of soybeans that we grow here, which they call determinate soybeans, which is a weird term. But what it means is that the plant will continue to grow taller while it puts pods on. And that's because our season is short. Yeah. Soybeans are light sensitive, which is also funny. So on June the 21st is the longest day in Manitoba. So on June the 22nd, when the days start getting shorter, is when soybeans start putting pods on the plant.
That's amazing.
If that makes any sense. It has nothing to do with how tall they are. So some years, if you can see me, some years they're this tall on June the 21st, and sometimes, they're this tall on June the 21st. And that's when they start to put their first pod on. So that's the one type that we grow. Yeah. And the other type is indeterminate soybeans. And those ones are the ones they grow in the warmer climates, and they grow as big as they can first, and then they put on the pods, and that just takes a little longer. But those ones have more pods. I mean, so that was the first part of the question. And the other part of the question is there are many different types of soybeans here based off of traits, which, things we can spray on them, like different chemicals that they have some protection against, or different bugs that they have protection against.
Mm-hmm.
But in Manitoba, we all grow, one type of soybean that, looks like this.
Yeah.
So I believe that if you go further down, there are also other types of soybeans. But in Manitoba, we only grow that sort of type of soybean. Do you think that answers the question a little bit?
I think it does.
I
think it does. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Lyle. All right, Miss Brown's class. And this is from QP. I think I might know who that is, but she is wondering how many soybeans are in a pod.
So that also depends a little bit on the weather. The normal answer would be 3. There's 3 in a pod. If the plant is stressed and isn't very healthy, sometimes there'll only be 2. Gotcha. And if everything is perfect, there can be 4. They can even be 5. But in Manitoba, 4 happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, when you go out to count, sometimes when you're going to look, you're looking for pods. You want to have as many 3s as you can, and hopefully a bunch of 4s, because it's easier to get to a billion with 4 in a pod than it is with 2 in a pod. Right?
And do you find the pods, Lyle, that have 4 and 5, are the soybeans themselves smaller, or do they kind of come in the same size as a 3-pod one would have?
Usually not. Usually the size of the soybeans is also variable.
Yeah.
Again, depending if the healthier the plant and the more perfect the weather is, the bigger the soybean will be.
Mm-hmm.
And the more stressed it is, the smaller it is. But generally across any one plant, all of the soybeans are pretty close to being the same size.
Okay. Great question, Ms. Brown's class. All right. We have one here from Charlie, grade 2 student. And Charlie is wondering, do you ever find empty pods on the ground? And if you do, why does that happen?
We do sometimes find empty pods on the ground. And even worse for us, we sometimes find full pods on the ground, because that means we're not combining them. The plant is very strong, but usually it would be wind, rain, or hail type events that would knock the pods onto the ground.
Mm-hmm.
The plant itself is very strong, and they don't fall off very easily.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many you went outside, let's say Sunday in the afternoon or evening. It was really, really, really windy. And so if you get a wind like that, it is possible that some of those pods would get knocked off.
Right. Good question, Charlie. Thanks, Lyle. Do we have some more coming in here in the background here, folks? All right, Connor. We're peppering them at you here, Lyle. Connor, grade 3 student, is wondering what the favorite part of your job is. Awesome question.
Well, for me, driving the combine is probably the favorite part of the job, especially when everything works. It's actually quiet, and when everything's working properly, it's quite relaxing.
Yeah.
But it's also the most rewarding part of the grain farm, because you've worked all year to try to get a crop, and then you actually are harvesting it and seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of you had a garden, but if you have a garden, going to pick the tomato is more fun than going to weed the tomato, or picking that cob of corn is more fun than, again, weeding or watering. So it's sort of how it is with the combine. That's my favorite part, and it's also sort of the most rewarding. You go home and, that was a fun day today. We combined a lot, right? So
that's awesome. Do your kids like to join you in the combine when you're harvesting?
They do, and the cabs are so big now that they can both come in there and sit, and it's quiet and lots of creature comfort, as we call it now. There's lots of, our new combines have a fridge in them.
Oh, wow. So you have a cold drink while you combine. Amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, maybe one day, Lyle, your kids can take over and combine for you, and you can just be relaxing with them in the combine. Sure.
By then, maybe they'll drive themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Who knows? They're making cars that drive themselves now, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? All right. So we have a question here from a grade 3 student, Anastasia. She's wondering, what is the hardest part of your job? These are great questions, kids. Good job.
The hardest part of the job is always when things go wrong.
Yeah.
That happens more often than we'd like to admit. So sometimes when things break and then you actually can't work when it's nice outside, that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if like an auger breaks, then I have to shovel by hand. And I used to be able to shovel. Now I'm old and I can't shovel as good anymore. And fixing things is a hard part of the job. I don't have very much patience, so at all. So sometimes when you want things to go right and they don't go right, that's a hard part of the
that
job.
can be frustrating for sure.
And then the other part that isn't very much fun is when you get stuck in the mud. In the spring of 2022, so 2 years ago, I got stuck 14 times with that big seeding unit that you saw there.
Yeah.
And then that isn't very much fun. That meant I was dirty. It meant that we were slow. So things like that are hard parts of the job for sure.
How do you get unstuck with that big of a machine stuck in the mud?
Well, you try not to say bad words. You start there. And then, no, we have to, the easiest way is to unhook the tractor actually.
Oh, okay.
Which usually isn't that easy because it's usually pretty deep in the mud. And then you have to pull the tractor out. And then from dry ground with a long tow rope, you try to pull the seeding unit out.
Wow. Not fun. Well, no, that doesn't happen for you this spring.
No, and 2023 we didn't either. So,
well, good vibes for 2024.
100%, yeah.
All right, so we have a question from Kayla Turner's class, and they are wondering what type of equipment do you plant with and harvest with? This is coming from Renee.
Yeah, great question. I don't know if you saw in the video, but there was a big green tractor with a big green seeder, and that's what we use for seeding. So if the type of equipment is, though that equipment was John Deere, but what it is it's called an air seeder. And so the soybean seeds are held in that back tank, and they're blown with air all the way forward to the seeder part that actually makes little seed rows and drops the seed in there and then closes it. And it does that over the whole width of the machine. Again, I don't know how many of you have planted a garden, but if you have planted a garden, you have to make a row, and you make a hole, and then you put the seeds, and then you cover them back up, and then you sort of pat them in, right? And this machine does that. You know, it is 60 feet wide. It does 72 rows at a time as we drive, and it probably does it more accurately than I do in the garden, because usually in the garden I'm in a hurry.
We're pretty lucky to have all that technology and all those machinery to help us grow food, eh? Can you imagine doing that all by hand back in the day?
Yes, and even I don't know if my grandpa ever did it by hand, but he did it with horses for sure.
Yep.
So if you think of that one, going back to doing it with horses to doing what we do now, it's very different, and the technology's changed a whole bunch.
That's for sure.
And then the harvesting, again, in the video, we have yellow combines in the video. So those are New Holland combines. And those combines sort of do the same thing. They have a big header up front that cuts the plant and brings it into the machine. And then the machine actually is able to pull the soybeans out of the pod. And then in the back, it actually goes on a sieve and it shakes it. And the soybeans fall through, and the soybean pods bounce out the back. Okay. And you're left with only the soybeans, in this situation, the soybeans, but all the other crops in the hopper part.
Pretty cool.
And so it's a bit like if you've ever shelled peas from your garden, because I've done that lots as a kid, where you have to pop the pod open and you get your 12 peas out or whatever, and then you throw the pod out.
Yep.
The combine actually does that. Well, we try to lose only about 0.5%. So we like to get 99.5% of the soybeans into the combine. And it does that as we drive along, you know, with a big header on there. And it does that very efficiently, which has also changed from when my grandpa was farming.
Yep, that's for sure.
The principle of the combine hasn't changed much, but it was much smaller. It didn't move. You have to bring the product to it. And so that's changed a lot in the last, I don't know, let's say since 1930. So, you know, sort of 100 years.
Pretty cool. Good question, Renee. So this is from Spencer, grade 2 student. How many seeds do you put in the ground? Do you have a tally of that?
Do you want to? We can break this down a little bit. We put on, and it depends a little bit with what seeding unit you're seeding. So with the air seeder that you saw in the video, we would put on about 195,000 seeds an acre.
Wow. And
if we would use our corn planter, which is a slightly different seeding tool, it's more accurate. There we'd only seed about 175,000 plants. And so last year we had 1,200 acres of soybeans. And so if we do that times 195,000, that would be approximately, again, I got to get my zeros right here. There's 234 million seeds is about what we would have seeded. There's lots of zeros on my calculator here that it takes a second. So it's lots of seeds.
That is a lot of seeds. There you have it, Spencer. All right. Another question here from Ms. Bissette's class. How many bushels can your grain cart hold at one time?
That grain cart is a 2,000 bushel grain cart, and it's got a big scale on there. And so 2,000 bushels of soybeans is 120,000 pounds.
Wow. And it's quite the operation when you're harvesting. Like you don't want to stop, right? So that truck has to be there right when you're ready to unload and then come back when you're ready again. And it's quite the operation to watch. It's really neat. Yeah,
it's fun. And as we get more and more equipment, it gets more and more fun to watch in some days when everything's working properly.
Yeah, teamwork, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so this is from a grade 3-4 class at Highbury, Miss Ferrant's class. And how many soybeans will fill a silo?
So
it's a real math event today. I like it.
Exactly. Well, it's easier by bushels, but the silos, you can get silos of almost every size.
Right.
So that part is a place to start. The bins that were on the video are 60,000 bushels. So they would hold 60 of those semis that you saw in the video.
Wow.
We actually didn't put soybeans in the bin that was shown in the video. We have a smaller bin and some smaller bins. So it depends a little bit. Our smallest bin holds 4,000 bushels, and then our biggest bin holds 60,000 bushels. So 4 semis full in our smallest bin and up to as many as 60 semi-fulls.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes.
All right. Miss Brown's class, this is coming from Julian. How many acres of land do you have?
Last year, we farmed 8,900 acres.
Wow. Amazing. So, and you said soybeans are about 1/4 of that.
Yeah, last year wasn't quite true, so I didn't. Turned me into a liar on the video yet. But yeah, we try to. Yeah,
that's a lot of land. Amazing. And are certain members of your family responsible for certain fields, or how do you break down who does what amongst your cousins and your other family members that you farm with?
Yeah, it's a good question. The cousins that I farm with almost exclusively work on the pig operation. So they don't work as much on the grain operation. I work more on the grain operation. There's obviously some sharing and we work together, but I'm more on the grain side. How do you decide what gets done? I decide what gets done. That's the most honest answer. And so once we're seeding it, there's lots of factors that go into every decision, right? And at seeding time, it's what's driest, and you seed our wheat first, and then the canola and then the soybeans. So you try to get the wheat done before you get to the canola. So we make decisions like that.
Okay.
And then same thing with the sprayer to protect the crops. So we have to make decisions on sort of what needs it the most.
Right.
There's some protection products that have to be put on at a certain time. And so then you have to do that at the right time. So we make decisions as a group, not really by individual field. It's more as a group, but then we try to make sure that each individual field is treated properly.
Right. It's a team effort. Amazing. Good question. So this is from Leanne Bugg's class. This is from Melita. She's wondering, how many pigs do you have on your farm?
We have our pig farm now is 5,000 sows, farrow to finish. So at any given time, we have approximately 75,000 pigs on our farm.
Wow. Can you explain, Lyle, what farrow to finish means?
Sorry.
No problem.
Yes. What I mean is that we have the pigs for their whole life. So farrow is when they're born, and finish would be when they go to market. So we have on our farm, we have the mums, the babies, the growing pigs, and the pigs that are ready to go to market. We have all of them.
Okay.
Some people only have the mums, and some people only have the pigs that when they're ready to go to market.
Right.
But we've chosen to own them all the way from beginning to end. Okay. So that's what that means. So we have 5,000 mums if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's quite a few. Must be a pretty big facility to have 5,000.
Yeah, it's under a number of roofs. It's not under one. So
Gotcha.
But even then, they're all big facilities. Yes.
Yes, definitely. Good question, Melita. All right, let's see if we have another one coming in here. Miss Brown's class. I love these questions coming in. Springfield Heights School. How much oil do you get from soybeans? So I don't know, Lyle, if you would know, like a bottle of oil that we buy at the grocery store, standard bottle. Would you have a rough idea of how many soybeans it would take to make that bottle of soybean oil?
The true answer is no.
Okay.
I actually do not know. So if you would give me a chance, I would make some phone calls and maybe find out, and I could get back to Larissa and she could answer that one later.
Sounds great.
Because I actually don't know the answer to that question.
We'll do that. Miss Brown, I'll let you know the answer to that. We'll get Lyle to look into it for you. All right, they have another one coming at you. What is your favorite thing made of soybeans?
Well, my wife's going to say lip balm or candles.
Yeah.
I would
say candles too. I like your wife. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. Eh? So that's probably the truth. The things that I like to eat them more than lots of the products that are made from them.
Right.
But in the world, something like biodiesel is getting more and more important because of the reduced emissions.
Yeah.
Through the vehicles. So that's becoming more and more real too. Actually,
I think if my preference would be to eat edamame while having a candle going at the same time. Can I do that? Okay.
And the salt makes your lips chapped, so you have to put some lip balm on?
Yeah, there you go. I'll do the three at the same time.
Perfect. Exactly.
All right. So this is another question. We're going to keep bringing them in while they're coming. So this is from Eli. He's a grade 6 student, and he was wondering, what type of parasites do soybeans get?
There are a bunch.
What would you say are what's the one that you kind of battle the most on the field with soybeans?
There's two. There's a bad bacteria that can be in the dirt, and I'm going to forget the name of it right now because we're on live video. And that's one of the ones where there's a coating on the seed to try to get the seed out of the ground, because once the seed is growing, then it doesn't bother it very much.
Yeah.
And then the other one that we deal with is a green aphid that shows up on when it's trying to make pods.
Right.
And that one, if there's too many, it can eat the leaves almost faster than the soybean plant can make the leaves. And then the plant sort of, it spends all of its energy trying to regrow the leaves that the aphids are eating rather than making pods. And then you get less soybeans. So those are the two major ones. And then depending on the year, there's a number of different insects. Some of them like it really dry. Some of them like it really wet. And so those are the two that we're most worried about.
Okay. Good question, Eli. All right. Celine, grade 3 student. This is a real good question. When did you know you wanted to become a farmer?
I knew I wanted to become a farmer when my NHL dream died. Yeah, well, that died pretty young. I was never a very good hockey player. My mom and dad still live on the farm, and so I obviously grew up on the farm. I enjoyed doing it from a very young age.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Probably realistically, there's a yearbook from when I was in grade 2, and then I didn't say I wanted to be a farmer. But probably by grade 5 or grade 6, I think I probably knew something I wanted to do. Yeah.
Awesome. Are either of your kids saying that they want to be a farmer possibly one day?
Well, they both are going to be NHL players, and we'll wait for that dream to die too. But for now, that's where it's going to start. They're both going to play for the Jets. So buy your season tickets now.
Amazing. Yeah, go Jets.
We'll see what happens. They both really enjoy it. They both enjoy being outside and enjoy the equipment. So we'll see what happens. They're still 7 and 4. So we're still a little ways away.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. All right, so I think we have a couple more questions I'm hearing from the team here. So let's jump to the grade 6 class from St. Augustine School. And what is the most unique thing soybeans can make? I think I have my answer, but I'm curious what you have to say here, Lyle.
Well, I just saw a video the other day that they were talking about soybeans being car parts.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too.
Oh, well, there you go. Great minds think alike, I guess. Eh? So being able to make sort of plastic products out of soybeans and the meal and the oil sort of combined is incredible to me, that we grow this plant and it can maybe turn into if it can make plastic, it could be a toy that my kids are playing with for all I know. So.
Mm-hmm. Great question. All right, Miss Brown's class, running it out. I love it. Do you know of any soybean desserts? Ooh.
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
I'm not 100% sure. I think here's the thing. I think you could probably substitute the soybean meal for almost any type of flour.
Yeah.
I know they make chickpea flour well, maybe, whatever. Certain people would use chickpea flour. So imagine you could make soybean flour as well.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, then you could make a cake with it, I guess. But
I actually had a dessert, and I can't remember what it had. Fruit on top of it, but it was actually tofu, and
okay.
they kind of coated it in like almost kind of like a sugar coating, and then fried it, and then had berries on top. It was actually quite interesting. It was pretty tasty.
Well, very good.
Pretty tasty. Well, Miss Brown's class, you guys are gonna have to try making something and let us know what you make. Kids will have to go home and try it out. Great questions. So I think that's it, Lyle. I think that was our last question from the live feed there. Thank you so much for answering all of those. The students did an awesome job. Let's thank Lyle in the chat, everyone. And Lyle, I want to thank you again for inviting us and all these students across Manitoba out onto your farm and teaching us about soybeans today. You did a great job.
Yeah, awesome. It was really exciting doing the video and this live feed, and the questions were great. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Lyle. We'll see you soon. All right, everyone. So as you know, for those that couldn't attend today's live event, we do offer a recording. So teachers, look up on your dashboard. We'll have that posted up there for you. And teachers, I want to draw your attention. Lyle was talking about soybeans making plastic. And here at AATCM, we developed a resource to go along with this offering. And it's called From Soybeans to Plastic. It's targeted at grade 5. And students have the opportunity to do some science experiments to discover what soybean oil can make plastic and using other household ingredients. We walk you through that with a teacher guide, lesson plans, and student worksheets for you to use. So be sure to check that out on your dashboard as well and try making some plastic out of soybean oil. I would like to give another shout out to our partners, Henervic Farm Services. We couldn't do these videos without you. Manitoba Pulse and Soybean Growers, thank you so much for partnering with us on this event. And of course, Lyle from Henervic Farms. Your passion shines through, and we can really tell that you love growing food for all of us to eat in a sustainable way. So thank you. Teachers and students, we'll be back in mid-May for our last event of the school year. We are going to be learning about potatoes. So teachers, if you are not part of our teacher e-news yet, be sure to go to our website and sign up for that, because that is where you get a lot of updates from us on new events that we're doing and upcoming things that you can participate in with Agriculture in the Classroom Manitoba. So without further ado, students, thank you so much for all your amazing questions today. Thank you to Lyle for taking the time to answer them. And we wish you all a great weekend. Have a great rest of the day.